All right, now we're picking up on page 137, about line 435. He turned to give the broadsword to Odysseus, facing him, saying blithely, "Sir, my best wishes, my respects if I offended. I hope the sea winds blow it out of mind. God send you to see your lady and your homeland soon again after the pain of exile." Odysseus, the great tactician, answered, "My hand, friend. May the gods award you fortune. I hope no pressing need comes on you ever, for this fine blade you give me in amends." He slung it, glinting silver from his shoulder, as the light shone from sundown. Odysseus isn't going to hold a grudge. What a nice guy. Messengers were bearing gifts and treasure to the palace, where the king's sons received them all and made a glittering pile at their grave mother's side. Then, as Alcinous took his throne of power, each went to his own high-backed chair in turn, and said, Alcinous to Arete, "Lady, bring here a chest, the finest one, a clean cloak and tunic, stow these things, and warm a cauldron for him, let him bathe. When he has seen the gifts of the Phaeacians, and so dine happily to a running song, my own wine cup of gold intaglio I'll give him too. Through all the days to come, tipping his wine to Zeus or other gods in his great hall, he shall remember me." Then said Arete to her maids, "The tripod, stand the great tripod legs about the fire." They swung the cauldron on the fire's heart, poured water in and fed the blaze beneath, until the basin simmered, cupped in flame. The queen set out a rich chest from her chamber and folded in the gifts, clothing and gold, given Odysseus by the Phaeacians. Then she put in the royal cloak and tunic, briskly saying to her guest, "Now here, sir, look to the lid yourself and tie it down against light fingers, if there be any on the black ship tonight while you are sleeping." So all those gifts that they gave to Odysseus, they put in this chest, and then Arete is pretty smart too. She says, "You close it up, lock it up, whatever you want to do, in case you're worried that someone's going to steal from you tonight." Noble Odysseus, expert in adversity, battened the lid down with a lightning knot, learned once long ago from the lady Circe. And soon a call came from the bathing mistress, who led him to a hip bath, warm and clear, a happy sight and rare in his immersions after he left Calypso's home, where surely the luxuries of a god were ever his. When the bath maids had washed him, rubbed him down, put a fresh tunic and cloak around him, he left the bathing place to join the men at wine in hall. The Princess Nausicaa, exquisite figure, as of heaven's shaping, waited beside a pillar as he passed, and said swiftly, with wonder in her look, "Farewell, stranger. In your land remember me, who met and saved you. It is worth your thought." The man of all occasions now met this. "Daughter of great Alcinous, Nausicaa, may Zeus, the Lord of Thunder, Hera's consort, grant me daybreak again in my own country, but there and all my days until I die, may I invoke you as I would a goddess princess to whom I owe my life." He left her and went to take his place beside the king. So she kind of put a move on him, and he kind of very gently sort of said, "You're above me almost." Now when the roasts were cut, the wine bowls full, a herald led the minstrel down the room amid the deference of the crowd and paused to seat him near a pillar in the center, whereupon that resourceful man Odysseus carved out a quarter from his chine of pork, crisp with fat, and called the blind man's guide. "Herald, here, take this to Demodocus. Let him feast and be merry with my compliments. All men owe honor to the poets, honor and awe, for they are dearest to the muse who puts upon their lips the ways of life." Gentle Demodocus took the proffered gift and inwardly rejoiced. When all were served, every man's hand went out upon the banquet, repelling hunger and thirst, until at length Odysseus spoke again to the blind minstrel. "Demodocus, accept my utmost praise. The muse, daughter of Zeus in radiance, or else Apollo, gave you skill to shape with such great style your songs of the Achaeans, their hard lot, how they fought and suffered war. You shared it, one would say, or heard it all. Now, shift your theme and sing that wooden horse Epeius built, inspired by Athena, the ambuscade Odysseus filled with fighters and sent to take the inner town of Troy. Sing only this for me, sing me this well, and I shall say at once before the world, the grace of heaven has given us a song." So Odysseus does a nice thing for Demodocus, gives him a gift of his food because he's eating better than anyone else being at the king's table. And he says some nice things to him. And he asks Demodocus to sing of the Trojan horse. The minstrel stirred, murmuring to the god, and soon clear words and notes came one by one, a vision of the Achaeans in their graceful ships drawing away from shore, the torches flung and shelters flaring. Argive soldiers crouched in the close dark around Odysseus and the horse, tall on the assembly ground of Troy, for when the Trojans pulled it in themselves, up to the citadel they sat nearby, with long drawn out and hapless argument, favoring in the end one course of three, either to stave the vault with brazen axes, or haul it to a cliff and pitch it down, or else to save it for the gods, a votive glory, the plan that could not but prevail. For Troy must perish, as ordained that day she harbored the great horse of timber. Hidden, the flower of Achaea lay, and bore slaughter and death upon the men of Troy. He sang then of the town sacked by Achaeans, pouring down from the horse's hollow cave, this way and that way, raping the steep city, and how Odysseus came like Ares to the door of Deiphobus with Menelaus, and braved the desperate fight there, conquering once more by Athena's power. The splendid minstrel sang it. So, yep, this is the story we all know about the Trojan horse. The Trojans brought it into the city, and they were either going to just keep it, cut it open with their axes, throw it off the cliff, or, offer it to the gods. So some different options. And as we know, the Achaeans ended up sneaking out of it while the Trojans were celebrating that they won and the Achaeans were gone. And then the Trojans lost their great city, and Odysseus and his men were able to take revenge. And Odysseus let the bright molten tears run down his cheeks, weeping the way a wife mourns for her lord on the lost field where he has gone down fighting, the day of wrath that came upon his children. At sight of the man panting and dying there, she slips down to enfold him, crying out, then feels the spears prodding her back and shoulders, and goes bound into slavery and grief. Piteous weeping wears away her cheeks, but no more piteous than Odysseus' tears, cloaked as they were now from the company. Only Alcinous at his elbow knew, hearing the low sob in the man's breathing, and when he knew, he spoke. Okay, this once again is a Homeric simile, and it compares Odysseus's weeping as he listens to this story to a wife mourning her lord who has fought and then been killed in battle. And once again, Alcinous is the only one who recognizes that Odysseus is crying. So Alcinous is going to ask Demodocus to stop. Hear me, lords and captains of Phaeacia, and let Demodocus touch his harp no more. His theme has not been pleasing to all here. During the feast, since our fine poet sang, our guest has never left off weeping. Grief seems fixed upon his heart. Break off the song. Let everyone be easy, host and guest. There's more decorum in a smiling banquet. We had prepared here on our friend's behalf safe conduct in a ship and gifts to cheer him, holding that any man with a grain of wit will treat a decent suppliant like a brother. Now, by the same rule, friend, you must not be secretive any longer. Come, in fairness, tell me the name you bore in that far country. How were you known to family and neighbors? Basically, come on already, tell me your name. No man is nameless, no man good or bad, but gets a name in his first infancy, none being born unless a mother bears him. Tell me your native land, your coast and city, sailing directions for the ships, for those Phaeacian ships of ours that have no steersman and no steering oar, divining the crew's wishes as they do, and knowing as they do the ports of call about the world. Oh, we just get a glimpse of these magical ships. They don't have anybody steering them, but the ships somehow know where to go. Creepy. Hidden in a mist or cloud, they scud the open sea with never a thought of being in distress or going down. There is, however, something I once heard Nausithous, my father, say. Poseidon holds it against us that our deep sea ships are sure conveyance for all passengers. My father said one day Some day one of our cutters homeward bound over the cloudy sea would be wrecked by the god, and a range of hills thrown around our city. So in his age he said, and let it be or not as the god please. But come now, put it for me clearly. Tell me the sea ways that you wandered, and the shores you touched, the cities and the men therein uncivilized, if such there were, and